Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. I think everyone out there knows I'm not someone who believes in fear-mongering or trying to motivate or manipulate people through fear and anger because I don't think it really does any good in the long run. The only people it does any good for is people who are trying to make money or companies that are trying to sell product, but it doesn't do anything good for the Second Amendment. So I don't usually engage in it. But that doesn't mean I don't recognize there are going to be some setbacks. I've been spending a lot of time talking about all the victories we've had recently and all the potential victories that I think are short to come. But there are some things we need to keep our eyes open about that I think are going to be not only likely, but probable. And one of those is a universal background check. Now, I know a lot of people aren't even going to worry about this because they're like, I already live in a state where I get a background check every time I buy a gun and blah, blah, blah. And I think everyone should be tested and blah, blah, blah. You know, they should be put through some sort of test to make sure they're legal to buy a gun. Well, I don't like background checks because, one, I don't think they ever stop any crimes. I don't think they make society any safer. I think the only thing they do is limit the number of people who can buy a firearm because of red tape, etc. And leave a way for the government to track every single gun that people own and who owns them. So I'm not a big fan of background checks, period. So I definitely don't support universal background checks. We have them here in Washington because of 1639. And one of the reasons we're fighting 1639 is because of that very reason. Because you might say, well, what does it make a difference if you have a background check or not? Well, universal background checks just don't include if you go to a gun shop and buy a pistol brand new from a dealer. It also includes if you buy a pistol from your cousin or that nice old guy down the street or that person you met on the internet who, you know, was on a local gun forum and said, hey, I'm selling my SIG XD so that I can buy a real gun. You know, you won't be able to do any of that without going to an FFL first and creating a paper trail for that firearm. That's why I am so against universal background checks, because it not only puts an onus on FFLs to keep a traceable paper trail for every gun, but on private citizens also. That way the government knows where every gun is, who has it, what they're doing with it, etc. And I don't like that, period. That is a huge infringement. So when people start talking about, oh, does the government come looking at you if you have bought too many guns? Well, the government shouldn't know how many guns you have bought. Because, yes, sometimes they do that. They go, hey, this guy just bought a lot of firearms. He might be up to no good. And I don't like that. I don't like the government doing preemptive policing like that. If you're engaged in activities like selling drugs or doing this and they want to watch you, fine. Because, you know, that's illegal. I don't think it should be, though. I think that'd be another problem. If we made drugs legal, we'd get rid of another big issue we have in this country. But I'm getting really off track here, as usual. But universal background checks are coming. I do believe they are not only likely, they're probably inevitable right now. For multiple reasons. One, Republicans want them too. Even John Cornyn from Texas is working with Democrats to get a universal background bill passed. This isn't a right versus left issue or Republican versus Democrat issue. This is an all politicians want this. Whether they tell you that or not, they're not really going to any effort to block it because they do want it. Because police departments want it. Police departments want you to have to go through background check for every gun you buy. They want you to have a special permit to carry every gun you carry, blah, blah, blah. Police are not on your side when it comes to Second Amendment freedoms, and neither are politicians. So the very fact that Republicans and Democrats have found this one thing they're willing to work on together tells you I think it's probably going to happen. And one of the reasons it's going to happen is because they're all in a panic right now. Even the ones that give you pro-Second Amendment lip service for your rights, who are always like, I'm on your side when it comes to gun rights, they're not really on your side. And right now they're seeing that in the courts, all those restrictions that they've done nothing about for decades are getting overturned. So they're like, oh crap, this is a risk to me. Because if we ever go too far, we want people to not be able to fight back. We want to be able to know who has what. We want to have an upper hand. And if we don't have that, I might have to start serving the will of the people. I don't want that to happen. So it's likely going to happen. They're working hard on it. And it's like I say, it's a reaction to the fact that a lot of gun laws are being overturned right now. Assault weapons bans. And a lot of states are going permitless carry. So they see the tide turning against them and they don't like it. They got to do something. I think they're going to, last minute ditch, try to pass an assault weapons ban, which they're not going to get through Congress, and would probably be overturned in the courts soon after if it did. Because that's what they're afraid of right now, that assault weapons bans are going to be declared illegal. Assault weapons ban in quotation. Basically, semi-automatic weapons ban is what we should call it. But because of that panic, where they think they're losing these onerous restrictions they've had for years, they're going to be doing stuff. And one of those things I think they will get through Congress is a universal background check. But you know what? I wouldn't worry about it too much, because even here in the state of Washington, where we have universal background check, people do private sales all the time. Law enforcement knows it. They say, there's nothing we can do about it. There's no way to enforce it. They don't give us the money to set up systems to enforce it. In fact, we had a mass group meeting where people came to the Capitol grounds and exchanged guns in violation of the law, with the state police standing there and didn't arrest anybody, because they're like, well, what are we going to fucking do about it? And plus, if we arrest someone, they're going to challenge the law and it's going to get overturned. So I wouldn't worry too much about universal background checks, because I think we'll slowly eat them away if they do get put in place. But and I don't think they will restrict much of anybody from doing anything they wanted to do. Maybe some of us will become lawless, but I don't think anyone will prosecute, because like I say, prosecute, they get harmed, it's declared an unconstitutional law, gets overturned. That's why they don't prosecute a lot of these things. It's like those things where they say your gun has to have this many American parts before you can add this to it. They never prosecute anyone on that as a primary charge, because if they did, the person would be like, hey, I've been harmed because of doing something innocuous that's a violation of my rights. That law preventing it's a violation of my rights, and puts a burden on me that the state should have no right to put on me. And then it would get overturned. That's why they never prosecute those as primary charges, because if that was the only charge, it'd get overturned. They only use that as add-ons when they want to stack stuff high, so you'll plea. But so you'll plea out to something lesser. But like I said, a lot of victories lately, but there are going to be some setbacks, and one of them I think is going to be a universal background check bill, like I said, because Republicans are not on our side on this any more than the police are. So be prepared for that, but like I said, don't panic. All right, everybody, with that being said, I want to move on to my favorite part of the show, and everyone knows what that is. It is, of course, gun talk. And today I want to answer a question from a viewer who asked me a very simple question. What is the worst gun you own? Not what's the worst gun made, because, boy, that'd be hard to determine, I think. But what is the worst gun I personally own? Now, I actually had to put a little bit of thought into this. At first, a lot of people probably think I'm going to say, like my FN57 here. Because I do think this gun is kind of ridiculous and kind of not the best gun I've ever carried, that's for sure. But it does have some practical uses. I'm not going to say this gun is useless just because I'm not particularly fond of it or the round it shoots. This gun is carryable. It's a full-size gun that's easy to carry because it's lightweight. It has high capacity. It's a very flat shooting round, a very accurate round, has almost no recoil. It's very easy to shoot. And like I said, you can still carry it because it's light. So this gun has a lot of practical uses. So even though I don't really care for it, it can't be the worst gun I own if it's actually a practical gun. So this couldn't be the answer. This is the worst gun I own. This is the Desert Eagle L5 357 Magnum pistol. Now this gun is, like I said, a Desert Eagle, but it's chambered in 357 Magnum. I almost went with my full-size Desert Eagle in 50 AE as the worst gun I own because it's very impractical, not reliable, but at least it's in a unique caliber, a caliber I don't have in any other gun, the 50 AE. This one is just chambered in 357 Magnum. And it's big, it's heavy, even though it is the lightweight model, the L5, it's still a big, heavy gun. It's bulky. You would never carry this gun. It's sharp. It's got all kinds of sharp edges on it. Just not a pleasant gun to carry, not particularly a pleasant gun to shoot. Because even though it can be fun, it's not reliable. You spend a lot of time at the range clearing jams because that piston system they use is just not good. But it's just not a great gun, period. In fact, the fact that it's just chambered in 357 Magnum and it's so big, it's so bulky, it's so heavy, and it also is expensive. It's almost $2,000 for this gun. It's like $1,800 and something dollars. And that it's chambered in 357 Magnum and it only holds like 9+1 rounds. That's just not enough rounds to make it worth it. If it was a double stack or something, that might be different. But this gun doesn't really have that much more firepower than this gun right here, this 8-shot 357 Magnum. And this gun is much smaller, much lighter, much more pleasant to shoot, definitely more reliable. This is just an all-over better gun. Like I said, just everything about this gun is better than this gun. And they're the same caliber. So why wouldn't you choose the lighter, cheaper, easier to fire, easier to use, more reliable, easier to carry? Why wouldn't you choose this gun over this gun? You would pretty much any day of the week. And that's what makes this gun, the Desert Eagle L5 from Magnum Research, the worst gun I own. It's because it's chambered in 357 Magnum, which is my favorite round. But when it comes to this gun, it's just not practical for the 357. There's no reason to want it. Now, I own it, so I obviously wanted it for some reason, and that's because it's unique. And you know, sometimes you don't have to have a reason to own a gun. Every gun doesn't have to be practical. You just have to like it. It's a why the fuck not gun. And that's what this is for me. That's a why the fuck not gun. So even though it is the worst gun I own, I still love it, or I wouldn't own it. So there you have it. The answer to the question, what is the worst gun I own? It's easily my Desert Eagle 357 Magnum L5. All right, everybody, now it's time for our pet rescue of the day. And today I want to do something a little different. Instead of talking about someone who went out and rescued one of our furry friends as a pet and brought them in as a member of the family, I want to talk about someone who just took time out of their day, out of their life, to actually try to help some animals in need. Because a lot of people out there say, I can't adopt a pet because I live in an apartment, can't have pets, or I just don't have time, blah, 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 so I can't take on a pet, so there's really nothing I can do. Well, there is something you can do. Because Adam1, one of the viewers of my channel, regular in our chats, he's been saving some puppies from a field recently. He discovered there were a bunch of puppies living in a cornfield. I don't know if it was a cornfield or some kind of field, but they were all out there. They were all strays, and he decided, hey, I can't take all these puppies in, but I can get them to people that can help. So he went about slowly trying to earn the trust of the puppies, caging the puppies, putting them in his car, taking them to an organization that will ship them out to places where they can be cared for and adopted. So he's been spending time out of his days to, like I said, win these puppies over, capture them, transport them, doing a lot of stuff to save these puppies from a life of misery, probably in the streets or in the woods. And he's not taking them home with him. He's just taking them to someone else who can help them. Because the people that help these pets, they can't be everywhere and do everything. So they need soldiers in the field to actually step up when they see an animal in need. Even though I can't care for that animal, I'm going to make sure it gets somewhere where someone can. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Adam1 for being a good example of what you can do. Even if you can't take them all in, you can still work to help animals in need. And I want to remind people that just because you can't take a pet in doesn't mean you can't help them. So use Adam1 here as an example. And remember, when you see an animal in need, do something. All right, everybody, before we go here, I want to let everybody know that the new patches came in. If you are a patron supporter at either the posse level or the deputy level, these are the patches you'll be getting now. Now, since I went to PVC this time, I was able to use the whole logo in the center. But then after I did, I'm like, should I have stuck with just the face logo I did in the other one, the special one? But I like these, and other people say they like them too. And it's not like I can change them now. I've already had 1,000 of these made, way more than I needed. But it's the same price to make 1,000 as it is to make like 300, which is the one ridiculous thing about buying these freaking patches. But these are the new patches. These are what you'll be getting now if you are a posse level member or a deputy level member. Remember, if you were already a member at those levels and got a patch, one of the older patches, you don't have to do anything if you don't want these ones. If you want these ones, go and select the new tier and change your membership to the new tier. You'll just go in, I believe there's a place to alter your membership, and then you just alter it to the new tier here. The old tiers are not available anymore because no one can get the old patches anymore. But just go over, alter your patron level to the new patch levels, and then you will get the new patches when it comes time to ship them to you. All right, everybody, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come back again tomorrow. Until then, I'm going to sign off as usual by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. It could be better, but it could definitely be a lot worse. But if we continue to ignore the fearmongers, the profiteers, the propagandists, the people that want to manipulate you through anger and fear, the people who want to profit off you, if we ignore those people and actually do what's good for the Second Amendment and not what's good for the gun business community, if we continue to ignore those people and do what's right, fight smart and hard for our rights in this country, what things will be in the very near future is better.